Okay, so very good afternoon everyone.
Very good afternoon.
My name is Paulomi Pandit. I'm a counseling psychologist. I've been trained in clinical hypnosis and neuro-linguistic programming. As a trainer, I am associated to Institute of Clinical Hypnosis and Related Sciences, where we conduct courses for professionals as well as people who want any kind of self-help workshops. And I also am associated to this polyclinic named Healing Hands. Both the places are in Andheri. Okay. About today's topic, the title has been sort of borrowed from a successful nutritionist, like the nature of the title. But otherwise, when I say hypnosis and the past life tamasha, it is not to sort of propagate or to decredit any concept. I am just going to talk about certain schools of thought and also as to how there are many myths and misconceptions revolving around it. Alright? So anyone has to say anything before we actually start with the concept, before we start with the topic?
We are here in this life because in the past life we have not fulfilled our karma, and in this life we are there.
Okay. Alright. Anyone else?
No, this tamasha is a little, curiosity is there. What is that?
Coming to that.
Because there are many who are now
Right. Coming to that.
promoting, propagating.
Okay. Let's go bit by bit. How many of us are familiar with hypnosis? What is hypnosis?
Not deep
Not
knowledge.
understood. Familiar means we have seen hypnotic this performed by the magicians.
Many
And
magicians.
then
Okay.
sometimes the
Latest.
hypnotic trance things. That's seen among the certain cinemas.
Certain cinemas, media, everything.
Practitioners.
Okay.
But not experienced.
I feel a state of mind where you can get certain things which are embedded maybe in your unconscious or
Okay. Anything similar? Okay. So we'll start with the word hypnosis first, and we'll slowly and gradually come to the remaining part of it. Okay. So the term hypnosis was coined by somebody by the name of James Gray. He was a Scottish physician, and he was somebody who had coined this term hypnosis. Alright? While he was researching on this phenomena called mesmerism. Okay? Now where did this term mesmerism come from? Mesmer. And who's Mesmer?
Yeah, France, hypnotics.
Franz Anton Mesmer. So now Mesmer was a healer, and what he did was he would use a lot of magnets and a lot of drama in his work of healing people. So if people would say that I have this ache or pain, he would just touch that part, say a few things, and that pain would go away. And all of this was very dramatized, whatever he did. Alright? And this entire concept, he labeled it as mesmerism, was kind of introduced as mesmerism to people. Alright? Certain technical words used by him were animal magnetism. He used that word because he stated that animals have this magnetic power to heal themselves, and he has this kind of a power to heal others. So that's what he called animal magnetism, therefore the use of magnets, and then it got popular as mesmerism. However, this person forgot to give any kind of, or rather decided to not give any kind of scientific explanation to it. So there was no logic, there was no science behind whatever he was doing and the kind of results he was getting. Which is why it created problems for him. And towards the end of his life, he had to run from one country to another, and he couldn't even practice mesmerism. But till then, mesmerism had caught on. It had become popular with people. It was giving results. And the medical federations began to get a little jittery. That what if there is some problem and one needs to find certain loopholes and maybe ban it and check what can be done. Which is when they had appointed James Gray to carry on the research. when he studied it, he realized that whatever is being done, it has a completely different understanding to it. So he gave a completely different face to whatever was being done. He stated that the state which is being created in mesmerism is sleep-like state where certain nerves in the brain fall asleep. And then he used the word neurohypnotism. Okay, sleep of the nerves. So it's like you're not completely sleeping nor are you completely awake. So hasn't this happened that let's say you're sleeping and somebody just enters your room and just kind of messes around and say, hey, you're sleeping, and you'll be like, oh, this person can't see I'm sleeping. So it is like half sleep, half awakened kind of a state. So he mentioned that this is neurohypnotism. Eventually with time he dropped the word neuro and hypnotism continued. He redefined it and stated that hypnosis, in a state of hypnosis, it's a state of mind wherein one or more of your senses become hyperactive. What are the 5 senses that we have? Hearing, seeing, taste, touch, smell. Yeah, these are our 5 senses. Alright? One or more of our senses become hyperactive. So, he used the word hypersuggestibility. And he also stated that this state can be simply induced by focusing on a singular thought. Alright, or just by focusing on your breath. Which is why he further added the term monoidism, which is again coming from Greek. Monoidism, focusing on one idea, singular thought. Alright, but the term hypnotism had caught on. It's popular till today. Alright. So he stated that in a state of hypersuggestibility, one or more of your senses become hyperactive and your mind becomes more receptive towards accepting something that you decide. I repeat, receptive towards accepting something that you decide. Alright. So by no means does that mean that you can control somebody's mind or ask certain things that the person does not want to share. These are some of the biggest myths that we come across when it comes to hypnosis. Yeah. So this was about James Braid. Now hypnosis around this time had started to pick up and people started to use it very extensively. It was also used during World War I to deal with post-war trauma. Alright. Now somewhere later towards World War II, there were more discoveries in terms of how different people function differently, because the standardized concept wasn't being suitable to people, everybody available over there. So what used to happen is they then started to figure that not everybody is getting into a hypnotic state. And that became one of the myths that not everyone can get hypnotized, which was not the case. Somebody by the name of John Kappas was researching on this phenomena, and he figured that it's not about everyone not getting hypnotized, it is about the way in which the suggestions or the way in which they are being hypnotized. Alright, so there are different kinds of people who need different kinds of approaches. And he found out by studying some successful therapists of that time, one of the main important key figures was Milton Erickson. So he was someone who could sort of hypnotize anyone left, right and center, and he had done a lot of good work at that point in time, and he had even used a lot of hypnosis on self and had recovered from many illnesses which were there with him since childhood, including when he was somewhere around 17, he got a paralytic attack and he was bound to a wheelchair. He literally taught himself how to get up and walk mentally using hypnosis, knowingly, unknowingly, and actually he could recover and then go ahead and do phenomenal work. Alright, so Milton Erickson, his work is amazing. a lot of other therapeutic modalities have actually come from the works of Milton Erickson. Okay? So this was about the history of hypnosis and how it actually started to get popularized. Alright? Now when I'm talking about hypnosis, this is something which is very powerful when it comes to any kind of application in terms of therapy. What is therapy?
Various kinds of alternate medicine.
Okay. Alright, so when I'm talking about a therapy or when I'm talking about, let's say, some sort of mental health care, you can say, yeah, so people call it a kind of treatment or a way in which you can help person reach from point A to B by working with their behaviors, emotions and thoughts which are causing any kind of blockages in order to attain that outcome. So helping people overcome certain unwanted emotions, change certain undesired behaviors, improving upon thoughts eventually, and then getting whatever you are looking at getting. So long and short of therapy, this is what therapies do. Different therapies will have different approaches, different processes, different techniques, and the way in which they are done would be different for different people. It's a very customized kind of a setup. Alright? So this is long and short of it. There are different elements to it. First part about the process would be obviously knowing the client, establishing some sort of a rapport, making a person feel comfortable. Another part would be, I'm just giving you rough guidelines of it, okay? Another part of it would be where people, there would be some sort of a diagnosis which is done. Alright, diagnosis as in what kind of a problem or what kind of a situation the person is in and what can be done about it, so that they can construct an effective plan out whatever is to be done, work upon things that are to be worked upon in terms of strengths, weaknesses. Then the client is motivated to do the necessary steps, take the necessary actions, and eventually results are seen. Okay? So about this, for diagnosis, many tools are available. There are certain tests that are given, there are certain small processes and different therapeutic approaches. Even hypnosis per se can be a good diagnostic tool in certain cases when it comes to certain kinds of problems. Alright? Because ultimately, what is hypnosis? I'll give you guidelines of that as well. So one, hypnosis,
temporary suspension of consciousness or like
temporary suspension of consciousness, or you can say accessing the subconscious mind. Okay? So more or less knowingly, unknowingly, all of us have experienced it. Because we are referring hypnosis, we are talking about hypnosis, it has more to do with state of mind. Okay? So, it's a state of focused attention. Which would mean that, hasn't this happened that you are engrossed in a book or while watching a TV program and somebody just calls you and you'll not even hear them. You're completely engrossed. Okay? That is being completely engrossed, it's focused attention. That is called a hypnotic state. It is also when you are on an autopilot mode. What's an autopilot mode? Automatic?
Sort of a trance like, you know.
Okay. So something like, hasn't this happened? How many of us drive over here? Driving. How many of us are familiar with cooking? Okay. So, when people started to drive, what happened? Don't talk, clutch, brake, have to be careful, oh my god, signal, have to stop. Yes? That was different. And when you mastered the skill, what happened?
Yeah.
Automatic, you would even reach your destination and wouldn't even realize that, oh, I reached. It's so automatic in nature. Right? So that is when you're in autopilot mode, functioning out of autopilot, like you're just by yourself. Okay? Then it brings your awareness, rather shifts your awareness inside. So certain sensations, certain feelings, certain emotions you focus upon. So your awareness is shifted from the world outside to the world inside. Alright? It then also has this another quality, which is the primary one, which is access the subconscious or the unconscious mind. Now the words are used interchangeably. Unconscious becomes US, subconscious becomes UK. Alright? Accessing the subconscious or the unconscious mind. Alright? And obviously it's a state of hypersuggestibility. Yeah? So these are the qualities, or this is what you can call hypnosis. This is what it does. It's a state of focused attention when you're on an autopilot mode, when your awareness is shifted from the world outside to the world inside, accessing the subconscious mind, and obviously state of hypersuggestibility that we spoke about some time back, where one or more of your senses become hyperactive. Alright, are we good till here? Perfect. So, talking about what we were speaking before we got to know what hypnosis is. Alright. So when I'm talking about hypnosis over here, what have you understood so far? Other than these things, what do you think it is?
Conscious responses are suppressed.
Conscious responses are suppressed. If you can give me an example.
See, I went to one group hypnosis many years before. So, I think suggestion was given that the chair is burning.
Okay.
And I don't know whether it was made up or something. Everybody started running. That's what involves it.
Okay.
So maybe that.
So let's talk about what you just mentioned. When I'm talking about all these things, yes, this does happen in a hypnotic state. And let me add more to it. There are different kinds of hypnosis, different ways, yes, and different purpose. Alright? When I am talking about the state of hypersuggestibility, that you do certain things, or for that matter, you accept certain things. Alright? The key is that you would do certain things or accept certain things, execute certain things based on what you have decided. I am more receptive to accept something that I have decided. It is my willingness. So willingness is the key here. Alright? Willingness is the primary element. That's the key. Alright? So if, let's say, somebody is not willing to get into a hypnotic state, you cannot hypnotize that person. So it is not forced. It cannot be forced on anyone if they don't want to. So the myths that, okay, you can control somebody's mind is a myth. It's not true. Or you can make people do certain things that they don't want to do is again not true. When we talk about these things, I'm going to talk about two divisions here. One is clinical hypnosis, or you can say Ericksonian hypnosis. And then there is something like stage hypnosis. There is also something like traditional classical hypnosis, but those traditional methods like the pendulum swinging and all are very outdated. I don't carry a pocket watch like this, nothing of that sort happens. Talking about clinical hypnosis, the purpose is therapeutic in nature. Somebody has come to you for some sort of therapy, some sort of help, some support, and you're using clinical hypnosis in order to be able to help them. When we spoke about thoughts, behaviors, feelings, Yes? In order to be able to get to some outcome. So it is about that. Stage hypnosis on the other hand again is hypnosis, but the purpose is entertainment. It is not therapeutic in nature. Alright, so there will be a group of people. They don't call and make everyone do everything. They filter their crowd. Only 1 or 2 people are made to do certain things. Those are the ones who are very willing to participate in it. Okay, and those people may be wanting to act like chickens, donkeys, monkeys, even otherwise without inducing a hypnotic state. Alright, so they would filter the crowd. Okay, how many of you agree to this? How many of you agree to this or not agree to this? And so on and so forth. They've got 10 people. Out of those 10 people, if you observe, they'll say, okay, you've played your part, you can go back. You've played your part, you can go back. And only 2-3 of them are remaining, who are the most willing to participate in any kind of giving. And they would participate even otherwise with or without hypnosis, which is why it is working on them. Alright? So that is stage hypnosis. It does not have therapeutic value because it is not for any kind of change creation or to help and support people per se. It is entertainment. Alright? And the effect of stage hypnosis would only be on the stage. After they are done with that particular session, the person is not going to continue acting like donkey, monkey, chicken, cat, nothing of that sort. On the other hand, when I am talking about clinical hypnosis or when I am talking about hypnosis used for therapeutic purpose, the effect would be shown and would be visible after the session. Alright, because you are working on it, right? So you will carry forward whatever effects or whatever change you have created. Alright, so we get the difference here? Perfect. So now this was understanding hypnosis, how willingness is the key. And let us come back to the topic of how hypnosis is also used for diagnosis. Alright. It's got a lot of therapeutic value. It will give you many results, many interventions. At the same time, there would be certain processes which help you for diagnosis in selected areas. So for diagnosis, many therapists would use certain tests. They would have certain other processes from other therapies. Alright. And then there are certain processes in hypnosis which help you come to the core of the issue. So let me tell you this. All of you would be familiar by now. We are talking about conscious, subconscious mind. Alright, so mind is divided in 2 parts. One becomes the conscious. Then is the subconscious or the unconscious mind. Alright. Now our unconscious mind is the storehouse of all the experiences right from the time we were conceived to today, including the color of the shirt that my father was wearing when I was born. I may or may not recollect it today because there is no repetition that has taken place. Let's say nobody has even told me, oh, he was wearing blue, so I don't know. Alright. But it is stored. Now, if there are certain events, certain memories stored in my unconscious mind which may be creating some sort of an impact today in my life, I may have to work with them. I may have to deal with them. Okay? Hypnosis becomes very effective. Let's say somebody comes and says, I have this pattern. Right from the time I remember, I have had trust issues. Just an example. Okay? And I find it very difficult to trust people, and I really don't know why this happens. Many times I have enough evidence and yet I'm not able to trust people that easily. Okay. Now there are different ways to go about it. One way is to obviously use diagnosis and find out what is the first instance that may have triggered this kind of a feeling in a person and which continued over a period of time, and then the person experienced it. Alright? So using hypnosis you can get to the core and find out the root cause of that particular problem as to where it is coming from. Okay? Many a times it so happens that people say, oh, it's coming from, when I was 3 years old, I can see myself, I'm a 3-year-old child and this happened, that happened, and I'm feeling very bad about it. And then when I was 6, something similar happened, 7, 8 and so on and so forth. Now in certain cases, a client may give you a story. I see myself, I relate to the character. I don't think it's me. Fake.
Is it fake then?
Don't know participant. Okay? Some people call this story, this narration, past life. Alright? That because it's not you, or because it is somebody else, a person that you are seeing who's talking like this, could be your past life. Now I'm not here to discredit any existence of any topic, nor am I here to propagate it. As I said in the beginning, I'm just going to present, and I would let you have your own belief systems about it. Okay. So it could be like, okay, I see a woman being beaten up by a man and I relate a lot to that woman. Alright, for the ones who believe in past life may say that this issue is coming from this past life. Or there could be multiple other past lives from where the person has been carrying this. And then there is this theory of karma that you are, here to kind of live your sins and so on and so forth, and maybe bear the fruits also and go ahead with it. That is one part of the story. On the other hand, if I have to shift it and turn it around, I can also say that it could be some sort of an imagination or a metaphor that my mind has created for me to be able to understand my core issue more effectively. Can anyone tell me how when I say metaphor? Any idea what's metaphor before this?
So it's not exactly the thing, you use a thing that is similar to the thing that is being expressed.
Yes. So let me put this together. So for example, aren't we familiar with dreams? We all must have seen some dream at some point in time, right? So what are dreams like? Let's say, I'll give you this example. Somebody sees a dream because this person had a fight in the office. The boss was shouting and this person felt very stressed. Okay. Now, when the person goes off to sleep, sees a dream where a dragon is spitting fire on a mouse and says, I'm the mouse. The dragon may be representing the boss. And the fire could be the firing that the person got. So that's like a metaphorical presentation. Okay, that the same scenario has been put up in a different way. So either it could be a kind of a metaphor that the client is giving, or it could simply, if they want to say and believe it's a past life, maybe past life. Now there are many schools of thought which get associated to it, that okay, past life, there is enough evidence that there is something like past life. 50% statistically claims that people are able to find different records and they are able to mention as to who was what and so on and so forth. However, there is 50% evidence also which states that there is no such thing. Alright? When I am talking about all of this, I am sure there would be many questions and many, like why this and all of that is happening. We will come to that in a bit. Let's finish this particular topic. Okay, for the time. When I'm talking about metaphor, alright, this is something that in general we use in our day-to-day life, or even if I'm talking about a client therapist perspective, in general this would be very extensively used. It feels like my life is full of dust and everything, although like everything is rusted in my life and it's so messy and so on and so forth. So it looks like what is dusted, what is rusty. It may not appear to be very clear to you, but it makes complete sense to the person. The person is describing his or her problem in a particular way. That's that person's representation. So whenever we talk about any kind of diagnosis, or whenever we talk about person going to an entry point of a problem, or you can say some sort of a memory, whether it's a memory or not, we don't know. It could simply be a way in which your mind has decided to present a story to you, and there could be various reasons for it. Maybe the actual story wouldn't be clear enough for the person to understand, maybe, or maybe it may be disturbing for the person. So let's say the child was slapped at the age of 2. It may be very disturbing for the child to recollect it. So there is another story which is played by the mind that okay fine, so and so person was slapped, and the person may say, what, maybe in my whatever life something like this had happened, I was beaten up and maybe I'm carrying the traumas in this life. Alright? Yeah, questions, because I see many questions here. Yeah, please go ahead. So that we can proceed smoothly. Yeah.
Can this be like you said as it is, like it could be a story, but then there are stages in hypnosis, right? So if you're like 21 or something, you hypnotize a person to be 3, 2, and then can it really go beyond that, like to the past life thing, or are they still making up the story?
Okay, so one, the only way to concretely say it is after I die and then remember this birth, take a birth and come back and tell you that this happened. I don't think I'm ready for that yet. Okay. Ideally, you don't do certain processes with children. Yes, there are guidelines whenever it comes to any kind of process. Even in therapies, certain processes, certain techniques are not used with children. Some of it is used with adults. Alright? It is a possibility that the person may say, I have accessed a memory when I was 2 or 3. Knowingly or unknowingly, when you are not intending to help them access the memory. Unless I'm doing a process where I want them to access the memory. It is a possibility that yes, a person may actually regress into ages of 2, 3 or 1 or maybe a few months and say something like this had happened. Now about the age part of it, there would be hopefully enough evidence where the person can go and check with his or her parents and say, oh, did I do this or did something like this happen? Possibility. If the person is talking about a completely different story, there is no way to prove or disprove it. If people find evidence is good for them, be happy about it. But if they don't, they don't. Remember, it is past life regression therapy. The problem that it creates is that people take it as a tool to knowing, things about themselves and people around them, and that is what is creating the tamasha. Whether it exists or not, doesn't matter, I don't care. But it creates problems. So any therapy, every therapy I believe works, gives result as far as it's not causing any kind of harm to people around you or hampering your current day-to-day living. Otherwise it's not a therapy anymore then, it's just disaster. So the problem is that people actually bank on it completely and say that, you know what, I want to know more about myself. So if a person, let's say, regresses that, oh, I don't know, I see a story like this and I relate to it, I don't say it must be your past life. I wouldn't do that as a therapist. If the person says, I know it is my past life or something, I will also explain what is metaphor, and if the person still chooses to believe it's a past life, it's your call. It's not my life, I don't have to decide anything for that person. But if somebody comes and says, I want a past life regression therapy, the answer is no. It is like, it's become like an over-the-counter prescription for people. People go to therapists and say that, you know what, I want to see my past life. Go to a heart surgeon, say, cut open my heart, I want to see what it looks like from inside. Why wouldn't you do that? Must be very interesting. It's an organ, no, in your body. So I actually say this, I mean, why do you not do that? No, but that's not done, right? Why? I mean, past life is okay, this is not okay, this is something you haven't currently, and I'm sure all your lives you had hearts, which functioned well or maybe didn't function well eventually. But people don't understand, they don't understand that it is not about it's not for entertainment. You want entertainment, watch a program, go for stage hypnosis, go watch a film, go out with your friends. To know yourself, there would be better means to know yourself rather than going in your past life and finding things out. And the saddest part is, even the ones who understand therapy kind of propagate it knowingly or unknowingly that yes, I'll help you take you, into your past life. How do you know whether it's a past life or not? It could be something else. You are in a way deceiving people knowingly or unknowingly. Yeah? There are in fact many jokes on it. Some people say, it's coming from our Indian mythology and it always existed and many religious texts would have it and so on and so forth. Fine, you want to believe in it? Good enough. They may be having evidences of those people because every story that they talk about, they talk about an evidence. So maybe the evidence is drafted.
The evidence is a myth.
Evidence, you can take it, it's a myth. On the other hand, there would be enough cases which will say that none of this makes sense in today's world. Alright, so there is somebody, I had read a post, that person said that the population is increasing. So are you saying that there were just some number of souls and they are multiplying into dozens and coming back on this planet? Is that true? Okay? Keeping jokes aside, talking about this, there is another model which kind of bridges the understanding over here, which is called, you can say, the understanding of a collective unconscious. Okay, so it's like, so we have these mini computers, okay? I am, let's say, working on this computer. Now, everything that I search online, is it saved on my computer? Is it? It's not. If I Google something, it could be coming from somewhere else. Right, maybe somebody else had uploaded certain articles. So let's say I am looking for some information on relationship counseling. Okay, I type relationship counseling on Google. Whatever information I get, 5 ways to improve relationship, 2 ways to know that you are not into the right person and things like that. All of this is not saved on my computer. I am getting it from maybe somebody else. Somebody else may have written it on their website or on their blog, and I am getting it from there. Correct? I am connected to my Wi-Fi. Okay? Everyone is connected to their network, and now there is this main network that we all have, from where all the information gets transferred. So even something on this particular computer can be received by me, right? So this is one of the other philosophies which says we have this concept of collective unconscious, from wherein people get information. So the joke becomes that whether you're seeing your past life or not is already a question. What if you're seeing somebody else's? Because it becomes a good kind of learning.
But then how would you know that it's somebody else's and not yours?
Don't know.
And you can't even say that it's your own thing.
Don't know, can't say again. The only way to know is after I die, I can probably try to remember this birth and maybe hopefully take a birth next time and then come and tell you, if you are alive, that oh, we'd met at Helpline. Okay, so I really don't know. Alright, so these are some of the philosophies that people have. The disadvantage to this entire concept and why we are calling it Tamasha, why have I labeled it as Tamasha, is because of this reason. One, whenever you talk about a concept like this, past life Tamasha, it became popular from certain shows and certain books that people wrote. All of you who may have been interested in past life, must have read or heard of this book, Many Lives, Many Masters, by Brian Weiss. Now that person has mentioned that in a session it so happened that the person happened to see the past lives. Okay? This is the correct way of taking therapy. He did not start with the goal of taking the person to a past life. It so happened that the person saw certain stories and said that this is the past life, and it continued, and the book is popular. Okay? On the other hand, there were certain shows that had come which popularized the whole concept. It becomes an issue because people associate hypnosis and past life and think past life is all that hypnosis comprises of, which is not the case. It is completely different. In fact, past life is not even 5% of hypnosis. It just got associated for no fault of hypnosis sometimes, I feel. Okay? Because you can access certain memories and because it's a fast tool to get some sort of a core problem, to get to the root cause, it becomes a very quick tool for people to have these kind of metaphors also. Because you're coming to the core to understand your problem. Yeah? So, this is where the problem comes, where people conclude that it's coming from here, or this is the goal and this is where I'm supposed to go and come from. Alright? And third, the biggest problem is that because you label it as past life, or the problem coming from the past life, it becomes a good escape route also. Oh, this happened in my past life, no? So, matlab kya kar sakte hain? It happened there. So, because of that, people leave the hopes and they don't even try to improvise on things that they are having problems with, because they think because it's coming from past life, it's my duty to live up to this current problem, and they say na ye to bhugatna hi hota hai kabhi kabhi. Okay, I'm sure you have to suffer and I'm sorry about it, but can you also do something about the same? Which is where this creates a problem. Alright? That is what we don't want. That is what we are looking at eliminating, which is the reason why it has been labeled this way. Alright? Any questions so far?
Okay, so when I came in, you might have explained this before, but then you said that one of the senses becomes hyperactive.
True.
So, which sense becomes hyperactive? What is that dependent
One
on?
or more senses become hyperactive when a hypnotic state is induced. So, what are the 5 senses?
The hearing, smell, touch, seeing, and taste.
Yeah. So, one or more of your senses will become hyperactive. So, for example, if let's say you are in a hypnotic state, right now, when you're not in a hypnotic state, let's say, you may not be able to hear the sounds coming from outside very clearly. In a hypnotic state, because one or more of your senses become hyperactive, you may be able to hear those sounds coming from the outside. Sometimes people may not be able to create very vivid images. But in a hypnotic state, there are high chances that you may be able to create vivid images around certain things. Okay, so one or more of our senses become hyperactive.
So, which sense becomes hyperactive?
It depends from person to person.
Okay.
Okay, and you become more receptive towards accepting something. And this is something which shifts us completely from the myth that when you are in a hypnotic state, you don't see, feel, hear anything. Not seeing, not feeling, not hearing anything is dead. And I don't think we are ready for that. Or to kill people like that using hypnosis. So you would hear, you would see, you would feel things. Yeah? Did I answer your question? Anyone else with regards to this particular thing?
Hypnosis is like, do you have many types of hypnosis, or is it just?
Okay, so the purpose could be different. Take hypnosis as a state of mind, where you're more receptive towards accepting something. The purpose could be either therapeutic in nature, the purpose could be either entertainment in nature.
Yeah, but then if suppose I want therapy also, so only therapy chalo. So are there many ways of hypnosis or what is
Okay, so there would be different styles in terms of different kinds of techniques being used based on the kind of person you are, based on the kind of situation you have come with, alright, and based on the kind of outcome you're looking at. Alright, so that way it would alter and that way it would become different from person to person. Although there is something like group hypnosis, which is a very generalized way of hypnotizing people, and that would have a common goal, like let's say inducing relaxation, alright, or let's say inducing some sort of a calmness or one particular feeling, and that's how it is done. Well, it's crafted in a way in which that it can cater to most of the people sitting over there. So that would be the difference. So you cannot say kinds, but you can say variations or ways in which people might induce a hypnotic state. Yeah? Anyone else? Okay. So this was about different models. One is you can either look at it as a metaphor, you can either believe it to be a past life if you wish to, or you can simply say it is this collective unconscious coming in together. Everything said and done, this particular concept is therapeutic in nature. If the purpose is therapy, you do not start with the premise that okay, this is what I am going to do. Does this happen that you go to a doctor and you will say, you know what, I have a headache, crocin, stomach ache, crocin, menstrual cramps, crocin, eye problem, crocin, nose problem, crocin, and crocin and crocin. That doesn't happen. Which is the flip side of it, right? Of this, not crocin. Okay? Because take therapy as any kind of medication. Suiting to different clients with different needs, a doctor would prescribe different kind of pills, right? Same is the case with therapy. It's a very customized kind of a setup, where depending on the kind of a person or the nature of the problem and the outcome the person is looking for, things would be crafted and customized and delivered accordingly. The problem only arises when you approach a therapy session in a very generalized, biased way by ignoring the other elements and only focusing on one particular element of it. Alright? Talking about all of this, we would be talking about certain advantages of hypnosis now, the benefits that you can get from it. One is obviously it is a very powerful tool in terms of resolving any kind of issue that people come up with. So you can say the pace of the sessions become much more heightened. Alright. That is because of the nature of hypnosis. You're working with the unconscious also, you're using the conscious also. Alright. The sessions per se become lesser in number because the pace has gone up, so you would require lesser number of sessions. And it can be used to deal with a variety of problems, lots and lots of them. It can be used for self in the form of self-hypnosis. It can be done by a therapist in order to be able to help individuals resolve different kinds of problems that they may have. Alright? So long and short of it, past life regression per se is used for a therapeutic purpose by people. However, that is not the only thing that you do when you use hypnosis. It is very different from it. Alright, different from it in the sense, different from what people believe it to be. Alright, and hypnosis is just a state of mind which is used for, when we talk about clinical hypnosis, used for therapeutic purpose. Alright, and these are the things that we spoke about so far. Any questions related to this? Okay, so to end this, when we say tamasha, for everyone who's watching it there and over here, I don't intend to discredit or kind of insult anybody's feelings or hurt anyone's sentiments. If you believe in past life, please continue believing in it. I mean, it's none of my business. And if you don't believe in it, it's completely up to you. So I end it here. Thank you so much.
Thank
you.
you.